New Zealand Football are releasing a secondary school age football report. Now this is not New Zealand's football report, it's a football plan for youth football in the country that's been developed by key stakeholders. That includes New Zealand Football, School Sport New Zealand, the New Zealand Football Secondary Schools Associations for boys and girls, Sport New Zealand, federations, principals, and most importantly, the young people themselves that are playing the game in schools and clubs around the country. While many young footballers are getting a good experience, through this work we've found that football experience isn't consistent or it's variable in different environments, whether that's club or school throughout the country. And in some places, unfortunately, it's having a negative impact on the welfare of our young people. This is a clear message that young people's needs are changing, and as a sport, we need to continue to evolve and stay relevant for our young people. The working group have established a set of principles that firmly place the needs and the well-being of young people at the centre of all decisions, and a set of recommendations that we believe will lead to much better outcomes for all rangatahi in football and futsal here in Aotearoa.
What was great about this piece of work was connecting with the hugely passionate people involved in both club and school football across Aotearoa. At a governance level, there was strong support for closer relationships between school organisations and the sport itself. Girls and women's football and futsal was highlighted as key areas of opportunity. A key recommendation in this area is ensuring that players have the freedom to choose where they access their football provision. There was significant value placed on both club and school football, with over 90% of participants indicating they wanted to be involved in both, and also the guidelines on supporting student welfare when participating in sport. In order to achieve this, there are clear recommendations for change where systems and structures do not allow for this freedom of choice. There was also strong feedback from participants that they wanted to experience the game in a different way, in addition to our 11v11 and 5v5 futsal formats, to support the challenges that young people are facing around time constraints, but also to connect socially with their friends.
And one of the recommendations that came out of the working group was around governance, and it was to try and strengthen the relationship between New Zealand Secondary Schools football and New Zealand football. One thing that was really obvious from the working group was that there was lots of consensus. We agreed on an awful lot of things. We know that there's some difficult conversations to come. We know it's not all easy work, but we are really committed as an organisation to being part of the journey and to being part of this next step to try and work closer together. We know that through collaboration and working closely together, we can get better outcomes for our rangatahi.
It was really pleasing to see that girls and women's football and futsal has been recognised as key areas of investment and development. I think with the 2023 Women's World Cup on our shores next year, there's a really awesome opportunity to attract and retain the next generation of girls into football. I think whether that be through coaching, refereeing or playing. Yeah, the report did really well in recognising the change in demands that we have on our youth, and I think moving forward, if we can give them flexibility in the way we offer our sport, that will only help the longevity of them in the game. I think as people in football and futsal, if we can reflect as a collective at the recommendations and work together to take steps to achieve those.
It's important to note that while these recommendations are broad in nature, the timing of and exactly how these are brought to life across New Zealand will need to be considered regionally and involve strong engagement with key regional stakeholders. On behalf of the regional federations of New Zealand football, I can say that we are very committed to this piece of work, and we look forward to leading conversations with the many great and passionate people that contribute to our game across New Zealand.
We recognise that different regions will have their different challenges and encourage strong key stakeholder engagement to ensure there's a level of comfort with how things move forward. The report highlights the importance of different stakeholders working together in the best interest of the participant, and also clearer and more equitable player pathways that provide opportunities for all to reach their potential. I'd like to finish with a big thank you to the Secondary School Age Working Group, Global Leisure Group, the thousands that contributed to the survey, the close to 100 students that participated in focus groups, the key interviewees, and many others that contributed to this fantastic piece of work. It's been clear to all involved that there's significant value based on both club and school football for youth age participants, and that any and all outcomes should not detract, but instead enhance the great mahi that is being done in clubs and schools across Aotearoa.